Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of this Unbelievable Life. Today with me, I have my dear old friend and fellow realtor in Hamilton County, Bill Gustin. He's going to
Yes.
talk to us today about his Ironman experience, training, and coaching. And Bill, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it. And yes, we have known each other a long time. It's kind of hard to believe. I think we're up 25 years plus now. So it's been a long time, but I appreciate you having me on the program. To your point, just going to talk a little bit about, I guess, triathlon in general. We can kind of talk about the progression into the Ironman world, as you mentioned. It's been a bit of a journey for me. So quick background on myself. Nikki mentioned I've been a real estate agent since 2005, but I've always been kind of an athlete. Nikki and I go way back into tennis and baseball days back in high school. So that's kind of how we kind of got to know each other, and continue to kind of be a competitive athlete even through my adult years. And I just kind of found triathlon, I don't want to say by accident, but was looking for something to kind of test myself back in, say, the early 2015, 2016 area, and came across a few friends that were competing in some local events, whether it be triathlon or duathlon. And for those who don't understand what a triathlon is, I guess maybe quickly just kind of go through what that looks like. Triathlon consists of three phases. You have your swim, your bike, and your run. You do those all at the same time in succession, one after the other. And there are different series of distances, starting as little as what they call the sprint distance, which generally will be right around an hour and 10 to an hour and a half, long, just in terms of overall time that's devoted to it, all the way up to the Ironman level. The full Ironman level is 140.6 miles combined. That consists of a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and then you run a full marathon, which I know seems kind of crazy, but that's what Ironman looks like. So way back in, I'd say 2015, 2016, like I mentioned, I was kind of looking for something else to do with myself. Started again at the basic level, that sprint distance level, and I've got to be honest, I didn't learn how to swim until I started triathlon. So, for those out there that may be listening who don't have a swimming background or just have some concerns about getting going in the water, whether you be in your 20s, 30s, I'm in my mid 40s now. So I started, in my late 30s, really kind of getting involved. Don't be afraid. It can be done. It took me almost 2 years to get to the point where I was really kind of confident with my level of stamina in the water. I always try to break the ice, if you will, with people that I'm talking triathlon about for the first time, or those who may be interested in getting involved but have maybe some fear there, especially in the water. That seems to be a lot of people's sticking point when it comes to actually getting themselves started in triathlon. But the first four races I ever competed in, I like to tell people I swam 90% of it on my back, which is probably not the fastest or the most efficient way to get things done. But, the whole process itself is just completing it. So again, it takes a little time and some dedication to build yourself up through that. And the first 2 years, I was just kind of doing some short races. Again, kind of getting my feet underneath me, no pun intended, and really kind of starting in that way at this the shorter distance races. And then you kind of get hooked. Those who have even tried triathlon or have an interest in doing it, endurance racing as a whole is a very it's a rewarding sport, but it's time dedicated. You really have to be on top of things when it comes to scheduling, and different types of personalities are maybe better suited for the sport than others. But again, it's very rewarding on the backside. So getting into the longer distance races, again, I was probably year two that I set out to do my first half Ironman. And again, that's just exactly how it sounds. It's half the distance of full. So you're looking at a 70.3 miles in a given day, which can take you anywhere between 5 to 7, 8 hours plus to complete, depending on your fitness level and your experience. And that was something different for me. I definitely had to overcome some fears. Again, the water has not really been my friend. I'm becoming more comfortable with that over time. But that first race, again, once you kind of do that, and my first race was in Niagara Falls. I told my wife, if I'm gonna do this thing, I want to do it in an area, that's somewhere nice to go that you can kind of look and enjoy the scenery and so on and so forth. So that's where I did my first race. And then, I've done an additional 9 since then. So each year you kind of built, obviously we had the COVID year where there was no racing going on. So we kind of missed an opportunity there. But then in 2019, so the year before COVID, was when I competed in my first full Ironman distance race. And that was in Louisville, Kentucky. And that was a long process. It was about 13 hours from start to finish for me. And again, depending on your fitness level and your experience, those times can certainly vary. Your pros can do a full Ironman event in 8 hours, which is kind of mind-boggling when you really think about it. But it's just one of those things where if you're looking for something to kind of challenge yourself and to see what your body and your mind really is capable of doing, because there's a big physical aspect to the sport, but when you talk about long distance endurance racing, there's a huge mental component to the sport as well. I mean, you have your 3 legs of the race: your swim, your bike, and your run. But I really think that there's 2 additional legs that maybe don't get talked about as much. The first one is the mental preparation that's required for something like this, because there are going to be times where you kind of question what the heck you're doing out there on the racetrack. Even during my first full Ironman, there were a couple instances where I'm on the bike for you're on the bike for could be 5-6 hours at a time, and you start to kind of wonder, like, if I just stop what I'm doing right now, no one's really going to know that that you didn't complete it or think less of you necessarily. But that's also the competitive nature, and you kind of keeps you going. But it's that mental piece where you kind of have to pull yourself out of some dark places sometimes to kind of really push yourself. And I know Nikki, I know you've done some marathons, so you've probably maybe experienced that in the past. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I know that's for us, especially given these longer distance races, you can definitely kind of find yourself in those holes, and you kind of have to pull yourself out of them. And then that's kind of the third component. And the fourth component, really, racing really comes down to nutrition. And that's something, again, you mentioned in your introduction. I've been doing Ironman distance races now for, I guess, going on 6 years now. End of last year, I became Ironman certified coach. So I really enjoy the sport to kind of put your body through this for a long period of time. And I just kind of want to give back to other individuals, whether that's be someone who's just interested in getting started, kind of like I did years ago, or someone who's maybe a little more seasoned, or maybe they've done some shorter distance races and they're looking to kind of take themselves to the next level. I just felt there was an opportunity there for me to not only learn more about the sport and all the intricacies and things of that nature that are involved, especially from the physiological aspect, which is an area that I'm not as akin to, but again, through the coaching process, I've learned a lot more. And so I'm just looking to kind of get back and build, see what we can do in terms of working through that and helping others kind of grow the sport, so to speak. So that's kind of where I'm at. And so now we're just right now it's kind of off season still for a lot of us, but we're starting to pick things up. So, if there are individuals out there who have an interest in getting involved in the sport, now is a really good time. Generally speaking, especially here in the Midwest, you can't do it. I mean, you certainly can get out and run, and if you've got a local pool or a Y, there's certainly opportunities there to get in the water. Biking in outside is a little difficult this time of the year, but there are opportunities there in terms of indoor access to different things too that you can do. So now's a really good time to start putting together a plan, or getting with someone like myself who can kind of assist with helping kind of take you to that next level. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do. And it's something, like I said, it's been a kind of a passion of mine for a number of years, and I've made some really good relationships with a lot of good people that are like-minded in the sport. And I'm part of a team here locally in the Carmel area I guess I should get a shout out to it's a PXP Endurance. So if you've heard of PXP or interested, Coach Paul Plummer, who's kind of my mentor, I'm going to be kind of coaching, if you will, or underneath his umbrella. But got a great group of people there, and like I said, it's a very individual sport in the sense that obviously you're doing all of these events on your own. And there's a lot of times that you're kind of spent doing things by yourself, right? Whether it be swimming or running. I mean, you can certainly find partners, but there's a lot of training involved where you're doing a lot of things on your own. So it's nice to be part of a group or a team that you can kind of feed off one another, and not necessarily in a competitive nature, although there's some element of competition there that we like to kind of have amongst each other to kind of push each other. But just kind of having that camaraderie and whatnot in a team environment is important. And obviously growing up playing team sports, that's something that I always valued, growing up. So it's nice that I'm kind of able to apply that to what otherwise is more of an individual solo kind of sport. So it's kind of fun. So I don't know if you have any other specific questions, Nikki. That's kind of like my brief kind of rundown of how I kind of got involved.
Well, I know we talked about kind of how you tie your Ironman stuff into your real estate career. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's just, I think the way that I look at it is being able to take different things that I'm learning through the sport of triathlon. Again, being able to overcome adversity, being able to kind of really utilize a lot of mental focus, and just dedication to your craft, if you will, and being able to kind of apply that in a business perspective. And obviously I'm in real estate as you are. You can really kind of apply that to a lot of different industries, but being able to apply some of those things towards what I do in my day-to-day business is always important. Realizing and helping your clients understand that, hey, I'm going to see this through the long haul. There are going to be some challenges, some things that we're going to maybe need to overcome with a transaction or what have you. But knowing that I'm going to be by them every step of the way, again, that kind of applies to the whole coaching thing too. And I kind of really enjoy being able to take individuals from point A to point B, and ultimately seeing them on the other side, where we can all be successful and see the fruits of our labor together. So it's just some of those things that I kind of like to let people know that, hey, yes, this is an endurance level sport. Not everybody's going to be interested in doing it, but we can take a lot of elements from it. We can apply it to our day-to-day life. And again, I think that's important too, because again, it's a time consuming, I not to get off the subject, but I do have to, the other element to this that I didn't talk about, I guess, previously, is just the amount of support needed by family. My wife, who's in the other room now, but I asked her if she maybe wanted to be on camera. She was maybe a little shy for that, but I really have to say it's really good to have a support group behind you. Again, I mentioned having a team, but having your family behind you and very supportive is critical too, because there are a lot of hours, especially on the weekends when it's middle of the summer and you're out for half a day or sometimes longer, depending on what you're doing in terms of training. And I have two sons. I know you have two children as well, so it's just one of those things where if I didn't have that, it would be very difficult for me to be successful. And that really applies to business as well. I mean, in our world, we're constantly available, right? If there's a need out there from a client. So just having that support system behind you is important, both aspects. But anyway, I didn't mean to get sidetracked there. But that's kind of how I look at things. And there's other things certainly we could talk to, but I think those are some of the more important things I just kind of wanted to review. And certainly if anybody has any questions, I don't know if opportunity there to reach out and ask. I'm always available to help out any way I can. So
I think the two major takeaways that I have are, first, that something like this, and like when I was doing my marathon running, it takes dedication. And I think that that's something that translates through to our professional lives and our personal lives. And it shows a level of dedication that we have both had in everything we do. I think it's just our personalities. So anybody that's going to undertake something like the long distance running, like what I used to do before my back injury, or the Ironmans that you are doing, you have to have a level of dedication. And once you can kind of attain that level, again, I totally think it transcends everything in your life. And so I would highly, highly encourage anyone that's even remotely considering something like this, to reach out to you, because I think having a coach and having a trainer or having a mentor is so important. I know that I learned a lot of the things that I was doing on my own, and I probably didn't do half of them right, but that was okay. I mean, we're all on our own journey, but I think especially in Ironman, if you start with a trainer, you're going to set yourself up for success. I know you were talking about nutrition. For somebody like me that is doing keto, like, you have to completely rethink your diet and what you're doing to make sure that you are fueling your body appropriately for something like this. Because I can't tell you, even when I tried to go back to running when I was on the keto, how fast I would flame out. So it's something that, I'm really going to have to rethink if I want to get back into running. So again, I think that coaching is critical from the physical aspect, but also the mental, because you'd have somebody that you're holding yourself accountable to as well. So if anybody has any questions, by all means, send them my way or send them directly to Bill. I'll put his contact information in my post. And we are so grateful to have him on the show today. And I hope everyone is having a blessed and fantastic day. Thanks so much for listening.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nikki.